You know, when most people think pig breeding, they think bacon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you're diving a little deeper with us today. You want to know what it really takes to raise these snort-tastic creatures?
That's
And
right.
trust me, with this roll-catcher guide we're about to unpack it is way more than just mud and oinks.
Yeah, it's a fascinating blend, I think, of tradition and technology,
Yeah.
actually. We often picture, the farmer in overalls,
Yeah.
but this guide reveals a career path
Mm.
that's changing as rapidly as any other.
Oh, absolutely. And RoleCatcher, for anyone tuning in for the first time, is like the ultimate career cheat sheet. We're
Yeah.
talking guides, interview, prep the works,
Hmm.
all based on real-world insights from both job seekers and employers.
Right.
So no dusty old textbooks here.
Exactly. And one thing that immediately jumped out at me was this emphasis on health and welfare as a core responsibility.
Okay.
And it's not just about keeping pigs alive, it's about ensuring that they thrive.
Right.
And that requires a deep understanding of animal husbandry,
Oh,
which is the science behind breeding and caring for farm animals.
gotcha.
So applying all those scientific principles to practical farming.
So it's less about cuddling piglets and more about creating the optimal environment for these animals to, well, be pigs.
Yeah.
Speaking of environments, the guide talks about managing the environment as a key part of the job. What does that actually look like in modern pig farming?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because it's not just about providing food and shelter anymore.
Yeah.
We're talking about biosecurity measures to prevent disease climate-controlled barns to ensure optimal temperatures for different growth stages.
Wow.
Um, Even tailored nutrition plans based on a pig's age and purpose.
Oh, wow.
The guide even mentions using data analysis to track growth rates and identify potential health issues early on.
Wow. So we're talking high-tech hogs now.
Yeah.
I'm picturing sensors, data dashboards, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But even with all this technology, the guide also highlights the importance of monitoring behavior for illness. That seems to require a different kind of expertise.
Absolutely. Technology is a fantastic tool, but it can't replace that breeder's keen eye and intuition.
Right.
And pigs are surprisingly expressive creatures, believe it or not.
Real.
A slight change in their posture, their eating habits, or even the way they're interacting with the rest of the herd can be an early indicator of a health problem.
So you need to be a bit of an animal whisperer, too.
A little bit, yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, so we're starting to get a sense of the knowledge and skills needed for this job. But what about the day-to-day reality? The guide doesn't shy away from the physical demands. Let's step into the shoes of a pig breeder for a moment. What's the work environment really like?
Well, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart.
Okay.
We're talking long hours, often starting before sunrise.
Yeah.
And the work itself is physically demanding. You're on your feet a lot, dealing with heavy equipment and exposed to the elements.
Right.
Rain or shine, the pigs need tending to.
It sounds like you need to be pretty tough to handle all that. But at least you're surrounded by adorable pigs, right?
Well, that's one way to look at it.
Mm.
But on a more serious note,
Mm-hmm.
while the work is undoubtedly challenging,
Yeah.
there's also a deep sense of satisfaction that comes with it.
Okay.
You're contributing to a vital industry, working with your hands, playing a crucial role in ensuring a sustainable food supply.
Right.
It's a career that requires dedication, but it also offers this unique connection to the land and the animals.
I can see how that would be incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
So it's not all muck boots and early mornings. The guide also mentions typical interactions as part of the job. I'm guessing it's not just you in the troughs all day long.
No, not at all.
So there's like a social side to this whole thing too.
Oh, absolutely.
I imagine, coordinating with vet suppliers, even maybe some friendly rivalry at the county fair.
Got it. It's a much more multifaceted role than I think people realize.
Right.
And remember those technology tie-ins that the guide kept mentioning?
Yes.
It's not just spreadsheets and emails anymore.
Right.
We're talking AI and automation becoming increasingly integrated into pig breeding itself.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting to me. I gotta admit, I always pictured this as very much like a traditional field.
Yeah,
But we're talking high-tech hogs now.
exactly. And what's fascinating is how this kind of mirrors a lot of the trends that we're seeing in the hiring process itself.
Okay.
So just like sensors can now monitor a pig's health in real time, AI is being used to analyze resumes, even conduct initial interviews.
Oh, wow.
It's all about data-driven decisions, whether you're optimizing pig genetics or finding the perfect candidate.
So you're saying even pig breeders need to be tech savvy these days?
To some extent, yes, increasingly so.
That's wild.
Mm.
But speaking of skills, the guide also breaks down the career path into these distinct stages. So you don't just waltz onto a farm and become head hog boss on day one.
No, not quite.
Yeah.
It's definitely progression, just like any other career.
Right.
You might start as an assistant learning the ropes from experienced breeders.
Yeah.
And as you gain, that knowledge, that hands-on experience, you can then move into roles with more responsibility, eventually managing teams or even overseeing entire operations.
And I'm guessing experience isn't the only thing that matters. The guide also emphasized education, right?
Absolutely. It's a blend of that practical know-how coupled with formal training.
Yeah.
Whether it's a degree in animal science, specialized courses in pig husbandry, or even certifications in those specific technologies, continuous learning is key in this field.
Makes sense. The industry is constantly evolving, so you got to keep up.
Exactly.
Now, I know we touched on technology a bit, but the guide specifically mentioned AI's role in modern breeding programs. Can we dig a little deeper into that? What's the impact of AI on the actual pigs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's where those ethical considerations that the guide kind of subtly hints at really come into play.
Okay.
So AI can analyze massive amounts of data to identify those desirable traits. Your growth rate, litter size, disease resistance.
Right.
And help breeders make more informed decisions about which animals to breed.
So it's like matchmaking for pigs, but with algorithms instead of awkward first dates.
Exactly.
But I can see where the ethical aspect comes in. Are we manipulating nature too much? Is it all about efficiency and profit, or are we still prioritizing the well-being of the animals?
Those are the million-dollar questions,
Yeah.
and there are no easy answers.
Right.
On one hand, AI has the potential to really improve animal welfare by identifying genetic predispositions to certain diseases, allowing breeders to select for healthier animals.
Right.
On the other hand, there's a risk of narrowing that gene pool too much, which can make animals more susceptible to new diseases or environmental changes.
It's a delicate balance. But let's be honest, for a lot of folks, the bottom line matters.
Okay.
So is pig breeding a lucrative career path?
Well, the guide does mention potential for profitability, but it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Okay.
Like any agricultural pursuit, there are inherent risks.
Right.
Market fluctuations, disease outbreaks, even the weather can impact a breeder's bottom line.
So you need to be both business savvy and comfortable with a little uncertainty. It's not just about loving pigs. It's about understanding the market forces at play.
Precisely. And that's where I think those specialisms that the guide mentioned really come into play.
Okay.
You could focus on the genetic side, working more in a lab setting, developing specific breed traits. Or maybe you're more interested in the hands-on aspect, specializing in a particular breed or focusing on sustainable farming practices.
There are so many different paths within this one field. It's way more diverse than I ever imagined.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of diverse paths, the guide also highlights the importance of transferable skills in this field.
Okay.
So even if you don't necessarily have a background in agriculture skills like marketing, data analysis, or even communication, can be incredibly valuable in the pig breeding world.
So you're saying someone with a knack for social media could find a place marketing heritage breed pork to high-end restaurants.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But let's say you've got the skills, you've got the passion, and you're ready to land your dream job in the wonderful world of pig breeding. The guide goes pretty in-depth on the interview process. What's the biggest takeaway for aspiring pig whisperers? Sounds like you got to come prepared. You can't just wing it when you're talking pig genetics and AI and all this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And especially remember those AI-powered interview tools that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Those are becoming increasingly common in this field.
Wow.
So it's not just about impressing the hiring manager anymore.
Right.
You might have to impress an algorithm too.
Wow. So you might have to brush up on your code alongside your knowledge of boar breeds. That's incredible. It's amazing to see how technology is touching every aspect of this industry. But you know what? We've covered so much ground today. From the nitty-gritty of pig care to the high-tech advancements that are shaping the future of the field. What's the one big takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway here is that pig breeding is a much more complex and nuanced field than I think most people realize.
Right.
It's this world where tradition meets innovation, where a deep understanding of animal behavior intersects with cutting-edge technology.
Yeah.
It's about so much more than just bacon.
It really is. And it's not just about the pigs themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's about the people, the passion and this ever-evolving relationship between humans and the animals we rely on for sustenance.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And as with any field that involves living creatures, I think it's crucial that we consider the ethical implications of our actions.
Right.
How can we ensure that as technology advances, we're using it to actually enhance the lives of these animals, not just maximize our own profits?
Yeah,
That's a conversation I think we need to keep having.
absolutely. It's about finding that balance between progress and responsibility, efficiency and ethics. It's food for thought in every sense of the word.
Well said. And on that note, to our listener who took this deep dive with us today, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and never underestimate the complexity of the world around you, even when it comes to something as seemingly straightforward as pig breeding.
I love it. Couldn't agree more. From high-tech hog farms to the ethical dilemmas of AI, it's clear that the world of pig breeding is full of surprises. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey.
It's been my pleasure. Always a joy to delve into these captivating topics.
Until next time, happy learning.